Okay, it's Roger once again. We're going to be talking about stroke and Alzheimer's and a miraculous, possible, helpful drug that appears to have no side effects. Now, and it's not being understood because I don't think they understand it as doctors. Now, this is Australian 60 Minutes. They're talking about a stroke victim. Now, I'm going to let this play and listen to what this woman, she's in desperate situation, and she was snapped out of this almost instantaneously.
But the patients say it's truly miraculous.
Can you please count from 1 to 10?
Every minute of Linda Lumbra's daily life is a frustrating struggle.
One, two.
She suffered a stroke 3 years ago, which left this teacher barely able to walk or talk.
All right, I'm going to jump past this to where she gets cured. And then I'm going to show you what else this seems to do. Now, this is, it's a drug, it's called Enbrel, and it's made for arthritis. But I think I'm understanding what it does. Now, let's continue on here. All right, now let's just watch and see what happens.
It's something to see.
What's different?
It's only been a brief few minutes since Linda Lumbra received that injection of etanercept at the base of her brain.
Clear.
The base of her brain.
Clear.
Clear. Everything's clear.
Tipped upside down to allow the medicine to flow into her brain.
Oh my.
Remember, this is stroke-affected Linda just before the injection.
One, two. Oh my.
Moments after the shot, she sits up. The change in Linda is something to behold.
It's gone. Hi.
Hello there.
Woo-hoo! It worked.
Okay, this is the blood-brain barrier. So the blood runs through your blood vessels, through your brain and up and all that business, and it does not get into, this is what's called the extracellular space. This is the cellular space where your blood spaces through there. This is the fluids that surround everything. This is where you have to get to. There's an issue in this area, and when they give you drugs in the bloodstream, the drugs are too big to pass through the blood-brain barrier, so they don't get to do the job. This is what is the case with this particular drug, I believe. Okay, so here we are talking about progressive aphasia. Well, what is that? Aphasia is basically dementia. It means you lose the ability to form words and make sentences and phrases. You're just losing cognition. But guess what? Reversible, rapidly reversible TNF-mediated pathophysiological mechanism. It is the same stuff, that Enbrel, that same exact stuff shot into these people did this. It said it got them quickly fixed. And down here it says the unmet medical need in primary progressive aphasia, which is this dementia, with not even a single approved therapeutic agent. The scientific rationale includes basic science and clinical data, and then they say they want to keep on, it's just promising and all this stuff, TNF-mediated pathological mechanisms in both PPA and Alzheimer's disease, rapidly reversible. So you would expect this would be looked into. Well, it got forgotten about, because guess what? This was back in 2008, right? Published 2008. They had already done the research and knew about it. In 2008, they published this, and here it is 11 years later. Here's the same stuff again. That's the Enbrel. That's the scientific name for post-stroke disability. Same thing, rapid recovery. Let's just get right down to the bottom. We know what a stroke is. You know what the disabilities are. And you get down to the bottom, and it says recommendation. Clinics should counsel patients considering. Listen to this. After all this saying it does everything right, they say don't tell them to not use it. Basically, unbelievable. Low confidence in evidence for efficacy of this post-stroke disability because of a high risk of bias. You understand what that means? They say, well, they wanted it to work, so that's why we have no confidence in this, because you're highly biased to make it want to work of the relevant studies. So they're highly biased relevant studies. The biological plausibility of benefit was judged to be low because of the reported immediate onset of the benefit. So it worked so good, it couldn't be right. This is the problem. It's absolutely. I know you have people say, oh, these guys always complaining. Well, I am complaining because complaints need to be aired. All right? It's too good to be true, so we're not going to use it. The hell with everybody. The biological plausibility of benefit was judged to be low because of the reported immediate onset of benefit and single administration of a transiently acting medication. It was just too good to be true. Too good to be true. So what do? Down here they say recommendations. Clinics, and plus there was nothing wrong. You had no unusual outcomes. There was nothing bad came of this. It says clinics should counsel patients considering this treatment of post-stroke disability that there is insufficient evidence to determine its effectiveness, and treatment may be associated with adverse outcomes and high cost. In other words, don't do it. You'd be a fool. Now, I'm gonna play this, and I'm gonna try to explain why I think this is so effective and so immediate. Now, these are called DMARDs. Now,
only DMARDs have been demonstrated to modify the course of the disease and improve radiologic findings.
These are your own biological responses, and one of them is going to be synthetic, and one of them is going to be your own real ones. These are the ones we're going to deal with.
DMARDs are divided into two categories, biologic and synthetic small molecules.
All right, all we're going to be caring about right now is the TNF alpha inhibitor. All right, these other things are another different way of dealing with it. They're different treatments that they're trying out for arthritis, and this one seems to be pretty effective. Now, we saw what it did to that woman and fixed her up like that. It works for Alzheimer's, for dementia, for all kinds of things. And I think I understand why, because it's being injected right into the extracellular material that is in your brain. And you're going to see it sequesters these TNF factors. Now, the TNF factors, I don't know what, I believe they are being produced or not being kept in check because bacteria is not good in the gut. Virtually everything happens because of bacteria, and all the other symptoms TNF works with, Enbrel works with their psoriasis, arthritis, all of that. That is also gut-related stuff. Absolutely. You look it up, put any of those things in, and follow it by and digestive disorders, and you'll see they think that's a side effect of having the disease. It's exactly the opposite. The disease of all of these things is a side effect of the gut not producing the enzymes, which is the chemistry set that does all of this biological work. And it does it in cascades. That means one little enzyme that is created by one bacteria breaks one molecule off. Another one comes along and says, I know what to do now. I am the other enzyme. I'm made by a different bacteria. I'm going to crack that molecule off. Another one comes along and says, I know what to do now. I am an enzyme, and I attach this molecule to one of these over here. And then another one says, okay, now that we've got that built, we can consume that. And it goes into be used up in the nutritional system. And then that's the way, but you have to have that cascade of events, and that requires a series of bacteria. That's why you might get psoriasis, you might get arthritis, you might get some other skin condition, you might get some other very, very, very closely related condition, because one of those bacteria is missing. And then that's when you get the trouble. So let's see if I can hopefully try to explain what I think is happening. I could be wrong, but we know it happens instantly. So let's see what this is.
The biologics represent a group of novel therapeutic strategies that are based on recent advances in the understanding of the immunoinflammatory events leading to RA. Tumor necrosis factor alpha, or...
Okay, this is the TNF alpha, the TNF with the little bitty A. Now, they say it gets, just invades your body all by itself, and your body's doing fine other than that, and it just decides to do this. Well, I say no. I say this is being emitted possibly because there is some kind of other issue that there's no enzyme to address. Or this is being normally issued, all right, to be laying around there to address issues. But it's not supposed to just be laying around. It should be attacked and stopped if it's not necessary. And that's what this drug does. It comes up and it sequesters it. It binds to it. It wraps around it. They show it pinching. I think it wraps around it and just keeps it from attaching to anything. And that's what they say it does. So let's go back to the beginning again. My take is the tumor necrosis factor, which is this stuff here, which causes, they say it causes a problem. Now, it has to come up over here, and then there's a receptor that has a little clicker that clicks to it and says, okay, I see you, I know who you are, and I know what you want to do. You want to make me get real excited and hot and sweaty and burn up and all kinds of stuff because you're telling me I got an issue here. And they snap together and that happens. Well, if there's no issue here, that shouldn't snap to it. Something else should have snapped to it. The other thing is not here because the bacteria was not available to make an enzyme, and the enzyme is the catalyst that comes out and snaps onto these things. These enzymes are nothing more than a chemistry set. It's a little molecule, and there's a zillion of them. They go all through the whole blah, and they're not alive. They just want to crack, 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 or attach. And that's what they do. They go around until they did all their work, and then they just go away. They're absolutely fabulous, but they all are made by bacteria. If the bacteria is not there, you're not going to have it. The bacteria is usually not there because of antibiotics. We all know what they do. They're supposed to kill the bacteria that's bad in your body. Well, it doesn't kill just the bad bacteria because it targets cell walls, usually. And they all have the same sort of cell walls. So you're wiping out the whole system at once. Now, hopefully your system is going to be able to repopulate itself. But if it doesn't, you're in trouble. And a lot of people can't. And specifically, you won't be able to if you've had your appendix out. It's going to be very, very difficult because the appendix is a storage of bacteria. They say, oh, it doesn't do anything. Yes, it does. It's a bag full of bacteria that stays there and just is waiting if it's necessary. And if you cut it out, well, it's gone. So that bacteria may never be able to get back to do its job. So what happens? You're sick for the rest of your life. I'm serious. You're sick for the rest of your life. And you can be absolutely devastating sick, and you can die within a matter of hours. My father-in-law died of septicemia, where he had it broke through one of these walls. Took him in the hospital early in the evening, and the next morning he was gone. My mother-in-law had Alzheimer's. And if I'd have known this TNF factor was causing it, and a shot of Enbrel could have brought her around like that woman, I obviously would have given that a shot. And they said, oh, it's too expensive. I think it's like $6,000 or something. They treat them $5,000 a pop for the rest of their life. They never get away from these people. Very, very distressing. Anyway, here goes. So now we got the TNF is coming out and saying, oh, I'm going to go start trouble. I'm going to go tell these things to start getting all kinds of hot and sweaty and and inflamed. And it says, there's nobody out here stopping me. There's supposed to be this other stuff that's made by bacteria. That's what I'm saying. And it is supposed to keep this, which is normally going to be laying around, some of it, because you're going to need it. You get hurt, boom, you're instantly getting fixed up. Your body has this stuff as, it's got to be in your system. Well, if you can't latch around it, and the only way you can deal with molecules is with chemistry. And the only chemistry that I know of ends up coming from enzymes. You eat stuff and then enzymes do their job. And they break them down, the bacteria chews up little things until it's so small that it can fit through little places, and we can eat it and it works good and it doesn't hurt us. And these things here are going to hurt us unless we have the bacteria that says, go over and tell those guys, just don't do anything for right now. Basically, that's what's happening. Bacteria in here, it says, you got anything going wrong? Nah, everything's good. The guy's no cuts, no burns, no scratches, nobody left on base. No, there's nothing here. There's nothing to do. They said, well, we got all these guys laying around. What do you want to do with them? Well, obviously, you're going to go over and tell them to shut down. They said, well, the guy that makes the stuff to go to tell him to shut down that enzyme, he's gone. I said, what happened to him? Oh, they killed him with the antibiotics. Well, what are we going to do now? I said, I don't know, man. Those things are just starting spots everywhere. It's like they're just attacking, thinking that they should do it because nobody's stopping them. Well, if nobody stops them, they're going to attack. He said, that's what they're doing. And they're going to find a receptor. The receptors are there waiting. The receptors are there waiting. And if you get a damage to it, the receptor gets turned on, and boom, you're done. All right, I'm going to make this very, very simple, and it is simple. Your body produces these tumor necrosis factor proteins. All right, and they're little chemistry sets. They come out of here, and they look to do a job. And the job that they do, they're tumor necrosis factor. That means tumors, they want to go and kill them. Necrosis, they go and kill them. Tumors get necrosis. That's what they do. So if there's no tumors for them to kill, somebody in here should say, hey, don't bother going and killing anything. You don't have to. But if the guy's not here to tell the necrosis factor guy, don't go kill stuff, he says, that's what I do. I kill stuff unless somebody tells me not to. And you don't have a bacteria that's producing an enzyme, so the enzyme's not here. That means the molecule is not here to attach to that TNF factor, TNF alpha. All right? So what do? They put this embryo in. And what does it do? It attacks. It attaches. That's what its job is. It does exactly what a bacteria should do for you. Now listen, here's what happens.
A. Tumor necrosis factor alpha, or TNF alpha inhibitors, were the first of the biological DMARDs to be approved for...
Okay, this is the inhibitor. These are the alpha, tumor necrosis factor alpha. Okay, there's other factors that we don't talk about, but this one is the alpha, and it is a tumor necrosis factor. It goes out and chews up tumors. So what happens if it just starts chewing up anything? Well, it chews up anything unless somebody comes and says, don't do anything for now. We don't have any tumors going on. When I get a tumor, I'll tell you. For now, I'm going to wrap right around you and tell you, just stay with me, and we won't do anything for now. But if that doesn't come up and wrap around it, that thing is going to go and just start tearing into things, and that's what happens. And they think it's doing it all by itself because it just wants to. The body turns on itself. It's not. The body has no inhibitor. It's got no inhibitor. Nothing to come up and inhibit it. Well, where's the inhibitor come from? The inhibitor comes from enzymes. The enzymes are molecules of chemistry. 100% case closed. They're chemistry sets. And what do? They do everything in your body, literally. And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of different bacteria strains, and every one of them makes some form of an enzyme that does some form of a molecular attachment or breaking or does something. It changes pH, plus to minus. It does something in the molecular mix of the soup of your body. Your soup in the body is just not accidentally making you work. There is a hell of a lot of chemistry going on by a hell of a lot of intelligent particles. These are not stupid particles. Nothing in here is doing this by accident. You know, there's another problem we got with it. They think that everything's just a big ball of accidents. Well, it's not. All of this stuff, something is controlling us. There's a central processor in your body somewhere, whether it's in your gut, which they now say there's two brains, your gut brain and your brain, but they work in conjunction with each other. And if your gut's bad, your brain's bad. If your brain's bad, your gut's bad. Case closed. I don't care what you say. You get a traumatic brain injury, and their guts go bad, and they actually die from organ failure because they cannot regulate their gut. All right? And if you get all infected in your gut, you'll go crazy. People, schizophrenia, all of these different diseases are gut diseases. Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, all those things. If you look it up and you put in and digestive disorders, they'll say, oh yeah, it's always a side effect. Well, it's not a side effect. It's the effect. The other disease is the side effect. And these things come up and wrap around these. Watch. Otherwise, they will go and attack. You need somebody to wrap around that. The bacteria would have created something like this, but the bacteria is gone. So what do? We shoot in this TNF, and it does it.
For arthritis treatment. The TNF-alpha inhibitors bind to TNF-alpha in the circulation and synovium, preventing its interaction with surface TNF-alpha receptors.
See, so they're not scrubbing up against the surface. Now, I have a couple of different ideas about this, because rheumatoid arthritis is you're ripping through your membranes. That's what's causing the problem. Now, is it particles that are scraping and scratching, and they're not being removed by bacteria that create enzymes that break these things down? And that's what they do. The bacteria create all kinds of products of enzymes that are chemistry that come down, they say, and they don't do it in just one click. They don't come up and they say, I'm going to destroy this whole thing in one shot. Let's say that has to come out of your body. There'll be one enzyme will come up and say, I'm going to take the yellow guys. Then there'll be another one come down and say, I'm going to take half of the greens and I'm going to attach a blue over to here. And then another guy will come up and say, I'm going to take the other half of these greens and I'm going to attach a red to this. And before long, it builds a molecule. And I mean, they are sophisticated molecules. It's not just some little piece of thing like this. They got round circles and twists and strips hanging off of it in every different direction. And it is all a program. It's a program. That's all. It's a program. And once you don't have the program built the correct way, one of the programmers isn't there today to program this side of the equation, you're done. Basically, it's as simple as that. So bacteria is the key. And right now, they're replacing the bacteria, the enzyme that the bacteria would have created with that. And this new pill that they have that'll be able to go through the body and tell where the bacteria are and where they are not, and what the species are and what the species are not. At some point, we should be able to have a database that says everybody that's healthy is going to have lactobacillus here, it's going to go have protobacillus here, it's going to have protella over here, it's going to have this over here, and it's going to be so much of a quantity. And if you have some other bacteria living here where the protella is supposed to be, or the protella is so extreme that there's an issue with it, you're going to have a database. And when you lay your numbers up against it, you run a pill through you and it gives you your numbers. You lay it up on that database, and this one's going to be high when it should have been low. This one's going to be low when it should have been high, whatever. And then it'll say, well, you're missing your copper, you're missing this, or you're missing that, because it's going to be metals and salts and so forth. They're going to be in the blood. They're going to be low quantities, or there's going to be extra this or that, and you'll just be able to figure it out. And then the pill will probably right away tell you, say, you're missing it here, you got too much here, or whatever it is. Then you take another pill with the stuff that you want, or the stuff that's going to kill the bad stuff, and you take it. This is very cool. They take them and they got a metal head on them, and they put them in there, and they take a magnet and they drag it right to where you want. Now, I never heard of this, but I think they could make one that they could just have like a latch door. You click, and it opens up right on that spot and dumps all its bacteria there. Or you could have a erodible surface that would take, say, 20 minutes or whatever the time it is to get from wherever you want it to be. It would have to take at least that long for it to move down that tube. You get to where you want it, and you know at like 40 minutes it's going to start dumping its contents. Stop it right there with the magnet. You put a little piece of tape and a magnet on your stomach right on the top of it, and you leave it there for 24 hours or whatever, and it dumps everything right on that spot. Or it's the other way around. It's got some deadly stuff in it. But the whole new world is open now because it's bacteria and it's the microbiome. Just look up microbiome. Everything is the microbiome. You're going to hear that microbiome, microbiome, thousands and thousands and thousands of times now, because they missed it, and it's here, and it's so simple. And they're doing poop enemas, clearing up unbelievable things. Oh, there's no way you can fix this. No way you can fix that. Autism, all kinds of things from a poop enema.